All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that can feel, well, absolutely immense and honestly a little intimidating: how to actually study Materia Medica. We're going to lay out a practical guide to help you conquer it.
So you crack open a Materia Medica for the first time, and boom, it can feel like you're standing at the bottom of this enormous mountain of symptoms. It's just overwhelming, right? So the real question is, how on earth do you even begin to climb it without getting completely lost? Well, before we even think about climbing that mountain, we've got to understand what it's actually made of. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is Materia Medica?
Okay, so in a nutshell, Materia Medica is the collected record of a remedy's effects. This information comes from two main places: super systematic tests we call provings, and also from real-world clinical observations. So it's not just some random list of symptoms. Think of it more like a language we use to perfectly match a remedy to what a patient is going through.
And here's the cool part. That whole massive mountain of symptoms, it's all built on one single logical foundation. We're talking about a scientific process called a drug proving. This is the bedrock of, well, everything we're about to discuss. So what in the world is a proving? It's pretty straightforward, actually. In this core scientific method, a potential remedy is given to healthy volunteers, and then every single new symptom that shows up, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, is meticulously recorded. This systematic approach is what gives the data all its power and reliability. And this process isn't random at all. It's highly structured. First, the substance is given out. Second, you document everything, and I mean everything: the timing, what makes a symptom better or worse, the precise sensation, any mental shifts. Finally, all that raw data gets analyzed to find consistent, reproducible patterns. It's a really clear path from a substance to its unique symptom picture. Okay, so why does this matter so much? Because these provings give us what's called the pathogenetic core. That's the pure, reliable data that forms the absolute foundation of a remedy's profile. This is the core info we can then confidently take and test and verify with actual patients. All right, so we've got pages and pages of this raw proving data. That's great, but how do we actually use it in a real-world setting? Well, the next step is to distill all those symptoms down into practical tools we can work with, like keynotes and even distinct remedy personalities. And the key to this whole distillation process is pretty simple. You're not looking for the common, everyday symptoms like a simple headache. Nope. You're hunting for the unusual, strange, or peculiar expressions. These unique characteristics are what truly define a remedy. They become its most reliable markers, or what we call keynotes. You see, when these keynotes come together, a very distinct personality starts to emerge. For example, the data for hyoscyamus consistently points to this dramatic, chaotic mental state. Now compare that with stephysagria, which reveals a picture of sensitivity and suppressed anger. These personalities come directly from the data. They aren't just invented out of thin air. Okay, we've covered the theory. Now let's make this totally actionable. Here is a 4-step study plan you can literally start using today. Now, this routine is all about active learning, not just passive reading. So, first, focus on one remedy at a time and read its entire entry. Second, and this is so vital, summarize its core theme and top keynotes in your own words. It really helps with retention. Third, and this is crucial, compare it with similar remedies. This is how you train your mind to spot those subtle but critical differences. And finally, test yourself using active recall. Try to write down what you know from memory before you look back at your notes. And to make it even easier, here's a tangible tool. Use a simple notebook format just like this one. For each remedy, you capture its essence, its keynotes, its differentials, a clinical case example, and the results of your recall test. This creates a powerful one-page summary that really reinforces everything you're learning. Finally, let's reframe the ultimate goal of all this studying. Because it isn't about memorizing thousands of facts. It's about something much more dynamic and alive. You see, when you follow a structured method like this, one that's rooted in understanding where the information comes from, Materia Medica completely transforms. It stops being a static, intimidating list and becomes a living, clinical language that you can actually speak, a language to better understand your patients. So now you have a roadmap to climb the mountain. You understand its foundation and provings, you know how to identify its key features, and you have a practical method to make the journey. The only question left is, which remedy will you choose to master first?